Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to Uncovering Your Work Values. My name is Ole Kagan, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for LA County Library. And now I want to tell you about the Work Ready program. Work Ready has been going on since December of 2020, and the purpose of the program is to help those affected by COVID get a job, and also those who already have a job improve your current work situation. So get a raise, and in general, plan a more sustainable career path. And we're helping you do that in three ways. Number one, we're lending out laptops and Wi-Fi hotspots out of 20 library locations. And we're doing that for 6-week periods. So we do have laptops available at all of our libraries, but those are for 3 weeks because we know the job seeking takes time and definitely takes effort. We are lending the Work Ready laptops for 6 weeks. And so the way that you get one of those laptops is that you go to the Work Ready website. It's lacountylibrary.org. You go right in the middle there, click Work Ready, and there's a link right on the page. It's towards the top where you can check laptop availability. You scroll down there, see which libraries have laptops available. They're the ones that say go to the service desk, and then you can go to the library and pick one up. If you are going to be making it to the library a little bit later. So if you go right away, you'll likely get a laptop. If you need to go later, you can call the library and have them put the laptop on will call for you. And that way it'll hang out there until you're ready to pick it up. The second way Work Ready is helping folks with jobs is with doing events just like this one. We've had events about all sorts of work related topics, and we've been doing these events since December of last year. So our YouTube channel is full of great career stuff. So if you go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/LA County Library and go to the work and career playlist, you'll see all of the different work ready programs that we've had up to this point, along with some pre-recorded videos that are a little bit short. So programs are mostly an hour. The pre-recorded videos are about 4 or 5 minutes long, so you get the quick hits of vital information. And the third way that we're helping you with work-related stuff is by buying the latest and greatest ebooks, books, audiobooks on different career topics. And if you don't see something that you're interested in, by all means, do let us know. It's very easy to get in contact with us. Just email at workready@library.lacounty.gov. And you can also respond to the follow-up email I send after every program. We read all the responses, we respond to all the responses, and we're happy to get your feedback. So we have our presenter for today, Liz Mohler, and Liz is one of our foremost work-ready presenters. I think she's done more work-ready programs than any other presenter, and I'm always excited about introducing her. She's a frequent library presenter. She's been presenting at libraries for a long time. She's a certified career coach and has been doing that for a long time, helping people in all sorts of careers with resumes, cover letters, networking, many, many topics. And so every time she presents, I always learn useful information. I know that you folks out there will get something useful from her today. Now, the origin of today's presentation is actually a slide in a previous presentation that she's done because she talks about work values in all the presentations that she does. And so I got in touch with her and I said, Liz, can you expand this? Because this is something that's really important. And she said, of course. And so today we have for you Liz Mohler, helping you uncover your work values. Liz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Oleg. Can everybody hear me? Am I coming through loud and clear?
Let me go ahead and switch the presenter over to you so you can throw
Oh,
up your presentation.
so I can be full screen or I
Mm-hmm.
can be a tiny little
Yeah.
picture somewhere. Thank you
All
so
right, so
much.
it's coming your way.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Oleg and I have had a lot of fun doing these work ready programs because we really do want to, be the face of the library to promote all of the services that we have to support everybody that's out there. And I think that COVID became a little bit of a mixed blessing with a silver lining because I'm sure there's people listening that maybe aren't even in LA County. They could be further afield, they could be anywhere. And then also he's recorded some of these, so you can go back and you can search for them on the website on the LA County sort of what is that, on YouTube, I guess it
On our
is.
YouTube channel, yeah.
Yeah. So when we were putting these together and planning these, I said I'm not a an on-camera personality. I'm a career coach. I'm a life coach. This is what I do, but I've been doing it for 10 years or more for the public library. So transitioning online, I'm right there with the audience, having to pivot, having to look at work a little differently. And so I did put together a slideshow, and I did include some of the slides that I use in my road to job search success, just to bring people up to speed on what it is I do as a career coach and how I can help you, in the audience if you're looking for work, if you're just about to graduate, if you're ready to ask for a promotion, or maybe you're in management and you've got a team and you're dealing with people coming back to the office, working hybrid, working remote, figuring things out. How can you be the best you that you bring to work? And so that was what the conversation was around core values, because it's my opinion that the philosophy of career coaching is that it's about being in touch with who you are and what you bring to the table. And it really does start with values. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to share my screen and see if I can pull up my program in a format that you guys can all see. And hang on a second, I've got to share. All righty, and view view like a presenter. Okay. Can everybody see my virtual business card? I have been hiking and running on this path in Playa del Rey for over 20 years. I've been a coach for over 20 years. It's kind of a new industry for a lot of people who decided over the course of COVID to start coaching themselves and coaching others. But I like to tell people that I've been helping people realize their potential, visualize their goals, and actualize their dreams for over 20 years. So a little bit more about me. I work in my backyard. I have a home office. I'm originally from Madison, Wisconsin. I'm a faculty brat. I have 2 kids. One graduated from UCLA, and he's a public artist and does lots more exciting things than I do with NFTs and technology. And then I have a son who just graduated from Boston University in the midst of the COVID pandemic, and he's a lacrosse player, and he is also looking for work. So I coach people in all stages of life, from my own personal experience plus my academic experience. I'm actually, I have a master's degree in counseling, and I went to grad school in Arizona, moved to Southern California because I love it here. I love the weather. I love the outdoors. I love the fact that I can go to the beach and go to the mountains. And so it's a bit of who I am that I bring to all of you, because my philosophy of work is that work is something that you do because you enjoy it. And in this program, we're going to talk a little bit about why else do you work? What's in it for you? So I put an agenda together because I want everybody to be work ready. At any point, the rug can be pulled out from underneath you. A global pandemic, and all of a sudden you're laid off, you're unemployed. During the pandemic, I coached a lot of hospitality people. Marriott Corporation asked me to come on and do what's called outplacement. When they were laying people off, they wanted a coach, a consultant, to help those hospitality people pivot. And one of the things I did with my corporate clients was I focused on uncovering their work values. So I'm going to put this in perspective by giving you the 3 phases of the job search, a little bit of an outline on the road to job search success, and make sure you come away knowing some of the things that employers need, as well as the stages of getting hired. And then, of course, we're going to dig into the $1 million question. So in order to start that, I talk about breaking it down into phases. And it's really about phase 1, realizing who you are, that we're going to talk about today. Because the core values are so important. And a lot of times my clients will skip ahead and they'll start to visualize the world of work. They'll just go to the want ads. They'll go to the online job boards. They'll go to Indeed. They'll go to LinkedIn. They'll start to apply for what they see. They'll start to apply where the openings are. And then they get into a job and they're like, what am I doing here? I don't want this job. Just because my friend suggested it, or because there was a help wanted sign and you applied and you saw it and you jumped into it, doesn't mean that world of work is right for you. And the third phase, which we're going to talk a little bit about today, is actually what you need to do in order to be happy in a job and how to connect. Because that's really at the root of everything, is how do we connect with the right people who can help us land the right job. So I will be teaching you the number one most important thing in order to get a job. And I'll be teaching you what employers are looking for, as well as what bosses are looking for, so that you can be prepared as you go out there. So 3 phases of career exploration: realizing who you are, visualizing who's out there in the world that needs your help, and then how to connect with them. So we're going to go ahead and get started, because knowing what that path is really, really important. And it's kind of like a winding path up a mountain. When you think about changing careers or the world of work, it's kind of like you're off on an adventure. And I want all of us to think about this adventure as being one that you're in control of. You get to choose what mountain to hike and how far you're going to go, or even if you want to climb a mountain. You may want to go down into the valley. There's some beautiful valleys. There's even a beautiful ocean in the background. You're in a situation in life all the time to make these difficult decisions. Where do I go next? So for the purposes here, I want everybody to take a deep breath, sort of relax, roll your shoulders back, and I'm going to walk you through the road to job search success, which isn't even a road, it's a path. So think about the path you want to get on. And the curiosity is, what do you need to have in order to get a great job? What do you need to have in order to launch your career? So if I was live in front of you at the library, I would ask for a show of hands. What do you need to have in order to get a new career, get a new job? Well, you might say, well, you need to have, you listen to what your parents say, and you'd say, well, you got to stay in school. You got to learn more. And a lot of times I get my clients at all stages, midlife crisis, and they say, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go back to school. And I go, that's a great idea. Go get an MBA, go get your master's degree, go get a certification or a license. That's a foundational step to get on the road to career success. However, is that enough? There's a few of us out in the audience that have certificates. I have my ACC certificate in coaching, my diploma, my license. Is that enough? Maybe not. Let's move on, because it's not just about your education and your certificates. It's about the knowledge that you bring to the table. And we can get our knowledge from life. Sometimes we get our knowledge about a career because it's what our dad did, or it's what our mom did. Or we have knowledge about the world of work because of an internship we had, or a volunteer job we did, or we pick up knowledge from all sorts of places. And especially during COVID, I hope we've all realized you don't have to be sitting in a desk in a classroom to learn. You can get knowledge from the World Wide Web. You can go online and learn how to do things by watching a YouTube video. I learned how to bake bread during the COVID pandemic by watching a YouTube video. So it's a combination of what do you learn, what do you know, and then we apply it to what our skills are. I may have learned how to make bread, but it didn't turn out very well. That was not a skill I have. I'm sure if I worked really hard at it, if I wanted it, I could get better at it. But the skills are the things that I inventory with my clients to ask them, what are you good at? What are some of your skills? Do you speak a second language? Can you read and write in that second language? Have you raised children? Have you raised a family? Do you have natural skills with people? Do you have natural skills with animals? Are you a numbers person? Do you have skills in putting numbers together and spreadsheets together? And taking the time to think about what are you good at is a bit of the inventory of that first phase. And then I'm also very curious, and I encourage all of you to be curious about all the life experiences that you've got just from being a person that survived COVID, that has survived an experience with family. You might have learned a little bit about cancer because of an experience you went through, or helping somebody that's less fortunate than you are. All those experiences pile into who you are. But the number one, top of the mountain, most effective way to get a job. If I said, take a guess at it, what's the number one most effective way to get a job? You can put it in the chat. This is the number one thing I tell my clients, and this is the biggest time and energy that I spent with clients, is teaching them. It's all about the network. It's all about the network. And that's not a computer network, that's networking. And the simple way to talk about networking is making connections, communicating with people, knowing that there's people out there, because networking is one letter away from not working. So it's your choice. Do you spend time on Netflix, Or do you spend time communicating, talking to, connecting with people in your network? And I'm hoping that some of you will turn off the television and really ask yourself, who's out there in the world that I could network with that might actually be able to help me as I put together the road to job search success? Because the three keys to getting hired, the three important factors, and these may seem really simple, and I want to make it simple because I want everybody to relax about the world of work and make this an easy, enjoyable process, because I want you to simplify it and break it down into, what do you know? Because the simple thing is it's two sides of the coin. It's what do you know, but it's also who knows you. So it's two sides of the coin, and it goes in both directions. Not only do we need to know what you know, but the people out there need to get to know you. And is it enough for an employer or a hiring manager to get to know you? No, they have to decide if they like you. They won't hire you if they don't like you. But I also focus on all of you and what do you like? I want to make sure you're pursuing a career and a job that you like. You don't have to love it, but you have to like. If you're going to work in a restaurant, I hope you like food. I hope you like serving people. If you're going to work at a college or a university, I hope you like college kids. If you're going to work with machines and taking things apart and putting them together, I hope you like that. And on the flip side, the other side of the coin, nobody's going to hire you if they don't know you. And they're certainly not going to hire you if they don't like you. That's why we have interviews. That's why we check with references, because the third level of this is about the trust. And this is where I dig in and I ask you, what are the things that you trust you can do? And on the flip side, you're only going to get hired if someone gets to know you and they really like you and they really trust you. So let me break it down more specifically. The three things to figure out: knowledge and knowing, and skills and knowing, and education and knowing, and training. What do you know? And for those of you that have a piece of paper or a notebook somewhere, start to journal this. Start to write down, this is what I know how to do. This is what I've got skills in. This is what I've been taught. This is what I learned in school. This is what I learned in the school of hard knocks. And then dig a little deeper and go, well, what do I really like? What are some of your interests? You know, if I sent you to the bookstore and said, grab your favorite books, your favorite magazines, what speaks to you? What pulls you in? What hobbies might you have nurtured? What hobbies are in your basement or your attic? Or I'm from the Midwest, we have basements and attics. Here in Los Angeles, what hobbies are in your garage? And maybe what hobbies have led to an experience that you've experienced? Or what kind of people do you want to work with? Do you want to work with children? And if you want to work with children, I'm going to be curious, what kind of children? Do you like babies? Do you like middle schoolers? Do you like high schoolers? Or are you more interested in helping the elderly people or people from a different culture? Figuring out who you like to work with and what you like to do is a foundation. And then what we're going to focus on today is deeper. And that's when we get into the core values and the personal traits of who you are. And these are the things that we talk about that are the trust. And this is the foundation for really getting started on phase one. How do I figure out where I'm going to go next? Or if you're a manager or a supervisor or working somewhere, it's not just what you know and what you like. It's trusting your employees and taking the time and energy to ask them, what do they like? What do they know? And build up that trust around what some of their core values might be. It's also important to dig into all of this because if you start networking, which is just that fancy word for having a conversation, you can have a texting conversation, you can do Zoom or some sort of online video chat, or you might actually get out of your house and put a mask on and safely social distance and go somewhere. And if you're out there networking, you're probably going to be asked questions like this. So tell me about yourself. And for many of us, that question takes us backwards. And sometimes we end up telling them the roadmap or the path up the mountain. You get to an interview, and what's the first question you get in an interview? So tell me about yourself. And in an interview or in networking, Many of the clients I work with will start with where they're from. They'll talk about where they went to school, a little bit about their education and what knowledge they've gained on the job and what skills they have and what experiences they had. And they'll kind of walk through a verbal resume. That's a great conversation starter if you can get it into 30 seconds for an informational interview or an elevator pitch. Not such a good job of an answer if you're at an interview, because if they ask you, so tell me about yourself, and you tell them everything that's on your resume, they're going to be wondering, tell me more. Tell me something I don't know, because they have all that information on the resume. So in order to figure out how to answer that question, I like to dig into the core values. And I've given you a colorful list of core values to take a glance at.
Hey Liz,
Yeah.
there's a notification on the screen on the top right hand of your screen, and I thought it was going to go away, but it's not going away.
Is it
There you
gone?
go. It's gone
Okay.
now. Perfect. All right,
So
please
funny.
continue.
Yeah, no, that's hiding behind my little headshot there. All right. Thank
Okay.
you. And Oleg, sometimes I don't see the chat on my screen. So is anybody chatting anything? Because it's
So
kind
there
of,
was, yeah, when you asked about the ways to get a job, I I think it seems like everybody's been to your programs already because everyone was like networking, connections, the people you know. So,
yep,
and
yep.
then we also did have one question. You may cover this a little bit later, and that question was, how does an introvert become successful at networking?
Ooh, I love it because those of you that are introverts in the world, you guys are special and you're great. And you might have even loved this COVID, this ability to kind of hunker down and be okay just amongst yourself. And so for the introverts, something that I like to encourage them to do is reach out to the people that are in their circle that they are comfortable with and maybe go one by one. Don't try to put yourself into a big party networking event that's going to overwhelm you, but be strategic and maybe reach out online or with an email to just one or two people that speak to you, that spark your curiosity, and just let them know, hey, I'm a little bit of an introvert, but I would love to chat with you. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to network. And start there with a common bond. And don't put yourself out there as having to be completely extroverted, because in this world, we are who we are. That's a great question. Okay. Um, I'm going to make this a little easier for you, and I'm going to put all of these values onto a sheet. Oop, let's get this. There we go. Can you guys all see the top 20 values survey? This is where you get to take a minute. And for those of you that are driving or multitasking, I'll go ahead and read the main word. For those of you that can see this on screen, you can probably read this faster than I can. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to actually come up with what I call your top 5 values. Ask yourself, what's most important to me today? What's most important? And you get to choose 5. And it might be kind of fun if you choose your 5, you can go ahead and put them in the chat, because then Oleg and I can take a look. Oleg can take a look at them since I can't see them, and I'll chat about them. But I'm going to read them off because what I like my clients to do is choose the 5 most important values to them. And it might be number 1, independence. Number 2, expertness. 3, activity. 4, knowledge. 5, wealth. 6, education. Actually, I've got letters on these. G, self-fulfillment. H is duty. I is nurturing. J is friendship. K is family. L is stability. M is fun. N is beauty. If you could put it in the chat, see if you can write the whole word, because when I move this screen over, and some of you might want to take a screenshot, or at the end of this program, I'll give you my email and my phone number, and I can send you this slide. So if you can't capture it all at once, don't worry, I'll email you the slide if you request it.
Actually, Liz, I can send the slide in a follow-up email tomorrow. So if you want to send me the presentation, I'll shoot it out to people, and so everybody will have access to it.
Thank you. Thank you, Oleg. That's even a better idea. So you'll get it from the library. For those that are just listening, I stopped at the letter M, which is fun. N is beauty, O is leadership, P is creativity, Q is health, R is adventure, S is security, and T is location. And I'm going to add what I call the 2021 number, 2021 core value, because a pattern I've seen in the last couple of years is people have a value of autonomy. Autonomy is a big word, and a lot of these words, I tell you, if you don't know the meaning for the word, make it meaningful for you. But if autonomy or time flexibility or working remote or having control of your own autonomy, your own work, if that's important to you, I'd add that to the list and see if that bounces one of your words off. Let me be quiet for a minute and let you all take a deep breath and choose your top 5. Oleg, are some people posting in the chat?
Yes, they sure are. So we've got some folks: education, self-fulfillment, nurturing, security, location, independence, wealth, knowledge, fun, and health. Independence seems to be a big one.
Yeah,
Um, Knowledge is second. Health, almost everybody's mentioning health. That's definitely a top one, especially now. That makes sense.
it does. It does. And that's kind of why I wanted to, and maybe I feel like I want to stop sharing and just say hello to people, because these words are just words, and yet they're emotions and they're feelings. And then I realized I probably shouldn't stop sharing, because then you guys can't see the word list. So, oh my goodness, let me go back. Oh, what happened?
Well, you want
Uh,
to share just the Safari screen.
yes, let me pull that up again. Okay, let's see. So I know you
Oh, I
guys are,
like Chloe wrote beauty.
oh,
I like that one. That's one that's I think a lot of people tend to forget when they think about their like work values. But that it is an important one.
yes, beauty and where we are, that's there. Now you've got the
Mhm.
screen. Sorry about that. I try to multitask, but it is interesting. And what I was going to say is that when we're all experiencing this global shift with the pandemic, the individuality and the autonomy, sometimes we value what we don't have. We value what we're missing. Um, I did some work for aerospace companies back in the day when they were laying off aerospace engineers. And I was the one that showed up right after they got the pink slip that says you've been laid off. And I did a similar values activity. And many of them, what they valued was security and stability, because what had they just lost?
Exactly.
The rug had been pulled out from underneath them. So here we are in COVID, and we value our health, and we hopefully are doing everything we can to create work environments that are healthy and making decisions about the risks that we take. And so health, I think, is a very important one, because we are in control of washing our hands, wearing a mask, and yet we're not in control of what the rest of the world does and the people outside of our environment. So that's a balancing one. Yeah. What were some
Liz,
of the, yeah.
I'm curious what are some of, well, I'm because I'm looking at different people. There's security, some people are putting creativity, self-fulfillment. Yeah, independence continues to be a big one. I'm actually curious, what are some of yours, Liz? Because you have a job that's relatively unusual. I mean, not that many people are career coaches out there.
That's a very good point. So I have really had fun with my job because I am motivated by fun. One of my other, uh, I guess, core values is the education and learning. I always feel like I don't have the right answers, and so I love the challenge of meeting new people. Currently, I'm coaching a pediatric ophthalmologist doctor who has a big practice, and yet she's feeling like she wants something else. I coached a lot of lawyers who are very, very driven, but I'm also coaching some very young people. And so I think variety and creativity and fun and education always seem to come to the top in my core
Hmm.
values.
That makes sense.
Yep.
We had a good question here. Samantha asked, "What's the difference between autonomy and independence?"
You know what? That's a really good point, because autonomy and independence in my mind are kind of the same. Doing things on your own, freedom to do as you believe best, minimal supervision. So I guess that's the very first one on the list, isn't it? So there I was trying to put autonomy at the bottom when in reality it's covered. There's a tool that I use when I'm with private clients, and it's called the Vista cards. And it really is a bigger, broader deck of cards. So I take these, it's not 20, it's actually 50 core values. So we take this deck and I ask my clients to choose out of all of these different words. And so this 20 list is sort of a summary of it. So you can kind of dig in a little deeper because there are some nuances between autonomy and independence. You might want to work autonomously, but on your own, but you don't want to work as a self-employed person. You don't want that much independence. You want to be working for someone, but have the autonomy where a boss isn't hovering over you, but you want to be in an organization versus maybe working independently. I'm in private practice. I work independently all the time. I don't have a staff of people. However, I like to collaborate on bigger projects. So if I had to work by myself and couldn't interact with an audience, the extrovert in me would get a little crazy. Yeah. Anybody have trouble listing 5? Anybody have 6 or 7 on their list? Sometimes I get clients who are like, I can't pick. It's really hard because we want it all. And
Yeah,
yet
I mean, all of them are important.
they're all important. Absolutely. And there's no right or wrong answer. So when we start to look at what's really, really important, sometimes 1 or 2 or maybe 3 will rise to the top. And we have to let go of some of the others because in life, we can't have it all. And yet,
Yeah, it
yeah, go ahead.
seems like there are some of them that are not necessarily, they're almost in opposition, like sort of what you're saying. Like, I mean, I'm thinking like I'm looking at adventure and then stability. Those may not be, it may be hard to have adventure within a work routine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why it's interesting to sort of go through these values and really sort of dig into them and go, well, what does stability mean to you? And what does adventure mean to you? Because I know a lot of people who want their job to be stable. They're accountants, they're bookkeepers, they want it to be stable, organized, routine. They love the numbers, the spreadsheets. But then on the weekends, they mountain bike and they're adventurous and they downhill ski. And so sometimes our values are met outside of work and not inside our work. And there's some great research and studies out that actually say that your life work satisfaction is higher if you're having more of your values met outside of your work. If you've got stability with your family, if you've got beauty in your home, if you've got adventure on the weekends, if you're feeling fulfilled outside of work, you show up to work more fulfilled. And so sometimes I tell my clients, some of these core values might need to be met outside of work. I currently do a lot of volunteer work with the Airport Marina Counseling Center because I'm such a fan of counseling. And we do things like a holiday home tour and a food fundraiser, a dinner fundraiser. And so I get to do some of my fun, creative things on the side through the nonprofits that I volunteer with. My engagements at church. I like to sing in the choir. I'm not very good, or I'd like to sing in the choir. I'm really not very good. But some outside of work on a Sunday, that fellowship, that family, that sharing for me, that feeds my soul, and it helps me launch into a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday work week. So sometimes we get our values met outside of work. Yeah. I love the commentary because I think this is the biggest part of what Oleg and I wanted to dig into is how do we make sure our values are met? And one of the ways that we make sure our values are met is to let people know what our values are. And so when the next time you're in a situation where somebody says, so tell me about yourself, there's 5 important things you should tell them. When somebody says, hi, nice to meet you, tell me about yourself. You now have 5 important things to communicate with them so that they can get to know you, start to like you, and inevitably trust you. And those 5 important things, the answer to that question, so tell me about yourself, are these 5 values. So if someone would say, Liz, tell me a little bit about yourself, I would be able to say, you know what? I really like to have fun. I like to meet new people. I like to use my education in counseling and career development to help other people figure out where they want to go in their life. And that's what's fun for me. And I like to be creative in how I work with clients. No two clients are alike and no two jobs are alike. And so I work differently with each client. And I've just listed some of the core values that I have. So I always encourage my clients, start journaling. When you put these words down, fill in that blank with respect to, so tell me about yourself. And filling in, that can be the answer to the question. Any comments or questions in the chat about putting it that way? Because
Well, not specifically about that. I mean, there are people who are still listening because I know this is not an easy thing to do for everybody to either narrow down or just think about it. It takes time.
right.
So actually, there's an interesting question here. If you have a value, can you be embarrassed by it, or
Oh,
how do you handle that?
yes, yes. Some of these, like, I don't know exactly which one that can be, but I work with clients who are like, I'm embarrassed to talk about how my family is so important to me. I don't want to talk about my family in an interview. I don't want to bring that up. They might think negatively if I live with my parents, or, they might think I can't do the job because I've got too many children. And yet, if family is one of your core values, what I would ask you is, if that company doesn't respect that you value family and that you're going to need to take time off if a family member is sick or something happens, is that really the right family for you? Because if these values don't match up with your job, then you're missing out on the number one thing that employers are looking for, which is also the number one thing that you should be looking for. And the
I
number
can
one,
think of a few here actually. I'm thinking I'm looking at I'm just this is because that's a really interesting way to flip it. Can any of these be challenged? I'm thinking the first one that comes up for me is wealth, which is when you're at a job interview and one of your values is wealth, which is there's nothing wrong with that, and but it can be challenging because you don't want to be like I'm in here for the money.
yep. Although, Oleg, I love this question, and I'm so glad you brought it up because it's a prime example of one that we have a stigma about, oh, we shouldn't talk about money. And yet, I love the people that are in the audience that have wealth as one of their core values, because if you put that in the chat, if you're motivated to make money, you're probably going to get to work more quickly than maybe somebody else, because it's not just your values, it's the company's values. And most companies value wealth. Companies are going to hire you to make them money or save them money. So if you show up and say to a corporation or a company, I'm here to help sell, I'm here to help do something to help this company grow and make money, do you think that's going to make you a better employee? Absolutely, because you're in line with what the values of the company are. The other interesting thing about that, if you value making money, the highest paid people in any organization, other than maybe the president or the CEO, who are the highest paid people in any industry, in any organization? Sales.
Hmm.
Salespeople. Salespeople do not have a ceiling. They can, if you're in real estate, is there a limit to how many houses you can sell? No. And sales is a great career path because it's one of the only careers that you don't need to have an education in. You don't need to have a diploma to get a job in sales. You don't have to have a degree to get a job in sales. Sales is a potential to create more money and to have more control of your career if you get into sales. It's also the category of jobs with the most openings. Back in the day, I don't know if anybody else used to read the classifieds in the newspaper and circle jobs. There'd be A for accounting jobs, B for bookkeeping jobs, C for creative jobs, D, E, F, and sales always has more openings. Sometimes when I'm working with a client who says, I'm desperate, Liz, I'll work anywhere, I'll do anything. And especially during where we are today in COVID, where we're coming out of the the lockdowns, the biggest openings are in sales. Go to the local mall. Go to your shopping mall. I just went to a mall the other day. It's been remodeled and redecorated. There's new stores there. And in almost every window, what's the sign in the window say?
Says
Help.
help wanted. We
And
had a
it,
question here. What
yeah,
values do salespeople typically have?
salespeople. Ooh, I work with a lot of salespeople. I would say a lot of salespeople are independent. They're internally motivated. I would also say that salespeople are likely to be somewhat, uh, adventurous and possibly friendship because it's about relationships. It's about communicating. It's about knowledge. I'm trying to think of some of my sales clients and the Vista cards that they've got and what shows up on their card list. And I would say there's that inner independent drive to solve problems because sales is not a bad thing. And if you were all live in front of me, I would ask you to raise your hand if you want to get into sales. Raise your hand if you want a job in sales. Is anybody jumping in the chat saying I want to do sales? Uh-oh.
I think most people are saying no. There was one person wrote, as an introvert, sales sounds like a nightmare job.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, I wish I was there to like hug all of you because guess what? Guess what job you all have now if you're looking for a new job? What job do you have now if you're looking for a raise or a promotion?
Oh no.
Oh, yes. You are all in sales. And what are you selling? You're selling yourself. Sales is not a bad thing. There's companies out there that are desperate to hire. Amazon is desperate to hire people in all areas, not just filling the boxes and driving the trucks. Amazon needs help everywhere, but you have to sell yourself to them that you can help them. This is another tip I'd like to give is that I want you to shift your paradigm. Shift the way you think about the world of work and focus on what's most important, which is you. What do you want to do? And then who's out there that needs your help? Because then you're not selling them anything. So you can circle the word job and put an X through it. I don't want you to be a desperate job seeker. I'll work anywhere. I'll do anything. Write the word job, just put it in a circle, put an X through it. Stop that. Start to focus on what you really, 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 really want. And I bet it's those 5 core values. And then you
Liz,
can
somebody
start.
posted something
Yeah,
really, really good in the chat. Anna said, when I worked in sales, I loved making people happy and helping them find what they needed. That satisfaction they felt. That was the thing.
I love it. I love it. So now draw a heart somewhere on your page if you're taking notes, somewhere. And what I want you to do is write the word help on the inside. Ask yourself, who's out there in the world that I can help? And who do I really want to help? Because that's when the sale becomes easy because you're helping the people that need you the most. Yeah. Yeah.
I just did it.
What'd you got the heart
I,
going?
I did. I drew the heart. I drew the heart. I like the message.
Yeah. Yeah. Because on the outside of that help is those 5 lines, which are your core values. So the question that my clients come to me with, most of the time they come to me at their break point. They're about to quit or get fired. And they come to me and they're like, help, I don't want to do this anymore. And so what we talk about is, well, what do you want to do? And I call this the $1,000,000 question. I ask my clients, well, what exactly are you looking for? So I tell my clients, write that down. What exactly are you looking for? And sometimes we have to go through an entire deck, an entire Vista card sort to figure out, well, what are your values? That's the core foundation we're doing today. But let's go above and beyond that. Vista, what are your core values? What are you interested in? Your interests, what do you like? What are your skills? What can you do? And then who are you in your personality traits? That's the Vista. That's what I put together so that you have a blueprint, so that you can answer the question, what exactly are you looking for? But there's really 5 simple answers to that question. And the 5 simplest answers to that question, what exactly are you looking for, are these. They're your core values. For me, every time I get a job prospect that comes in and says, Liz, we need a proposal, I go back to my core values. Is it fun? Is it adventurous? Is it something I'm going to learn something about or share my education? Can I be creative? And if it doesn't match up with my core values, I don't even pursue it. It's not a good fit. And the number one reason you'll be hired, which is the number one reason you get fired, is all about the fit. I used to say in my workshops, you can be the best apple picker on the truck, but if nobody else on the truck likes you, are you going to be invited back next year? No. So whose job is it to figure out the fit? It's ours. And I've just given you a tool to help you focus on what exactly it is you're looking for. Those 5 important things, that's what you're looking for. Yeah.
I think the interesting thing about these values is that each of them translate to different things you can negotiate for your work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes when we're working somewhere, it's important to communicate with our boss what our values are, because if the boss knows you want to do something more creative, or if the boss knows that you want to make something more beautiful, or if the boss knows, I really don't like all these changes, I'd like to just do the duty, or something that's more self-fulfilling, it's a two-way street. So open lines of communication is networking, connecting, and letting people know what it is you want to do. Yeah. That's a very, very good observation, Oleg. And that's something that I'm working with right now with managers who are supervising people that are coming back to work. And I got to tell you, a lot of people are having second thoughts about going back into the office. That's why we have this great resignation. Has everybody heard that term? The great resignation? People are saying, I'm done. I don't want to drive 45 minutes to an hour and a half to work. And they're about to throw in the towel. And I like to coach my clients, if you're managing people, take the time to ask them, what are some of their core values? So I'm putting a proposal together now to go into an organization that has 18 employees, and it's a bell curve. Some of them can't wait to come back in the office. They miss everybody. They miss the meetings. They miss the lunches. Other people are very happy working from home and possibly more productive. So my role is to come in and actually do values with all of the people together. Think of the knowledge and the connections you would get if everybody on your team did a values exercise. And if you understood your boss's values, many of you on the call today, you probably know what your boss values. Your boss has probably very clearly said to you that they value expertness, or they value nurturing, or they value, the security and stability. You may value something that's completely opposite. But if you know what your boss values, can you become a better employee? Sure, because you now know what they need in order for them to be successful. So it's a fun tool to bring into companies and to do team building around this, to open lines of communication, to build up that trust as we get to know each other. Because no 2 people are going to have the same 5 values. It's very rare. I've done many of these workshops, and I don't think I've ever had 2 people match up from the same company. Because companies, different people in different roles in the company need those different values. So we try to understand what those values are and how they fit together. Yeah. Oh, like I don't see the chat, so tell me if there's other fun comments.
So there's some comments and questions, but I think we should move on, and I'll save some of the questions till the end.
Okay.
I
So
think those will be good to cover.
yeah, because I have a few more slides, but really I think the slides that I have are already, I've said the $1 million question, what exactly are you looking for? And I challenge all of you to use those core values to answer that question. And then I've also told you the number one reason you're going to get hired is the number one reason you're going to get fired, because it's all about the fit. And then we've also talked about the fact that now we have talking points for whether we're working or whether we're networking, the bringing to the conversation who we are and what we want to talk about, we now have the answer because work might look like this. This may be, your job is connecting here, but it's important to sort of ask yourself, well, how am I contributing? How am I connecting all the different people that I work with? And it does take some energy and some effort to be true to you and what you're looking for. The last one that I'll share with everybody is I think a little bit of an obsolete issue because it's location. And I tell my clients, the 3 rules of real estate, and this is another one of my Lizisms. I've given you a handful of my Lizisms, which are my little quotes that I try to make it simple for everybody. The 3 rules of real estate are location, location, location. So as you're thinking about the job, and we're putting an X through it, go ahead and ask yourself, where are those people that I want to help? Where are they? Where are they working? Are they working in a studio? Are they working on a farm? Where do I want to go next? What does that look like? And the sneaky trick I told you is if you want a job quickly, go to your local mall, dress to impress, walk through the mall, look at all those help wanted signs, and then ask yourself, well, where am I the best fit? Am I a Nordstrom's high-end sales kind of person, or am I a Target kind of person? Where am I more comfortable? Would I rather sell shoes, or would I rather sell jewelry, or would I rather sell chocolate? Or would I, what is it that is the location of where you want to succeed and where you want to grow? So I'm looking at the clock because I know I need to give some time for questions. I can put in the chat. Let's see if I know how to do this now that I'm over here. My contact information.
And I'll
And
also add that in the follow-up email too.
great. And Oleg, I'll send you in the follow-up email the link to a little bit of
Mhm.
a Google survey, and then
Mhm.
you can send that out as well, and people can give me some feedback. And
Sure.
Oleg and I love to do these programs to fit what the audience wants, which is why values became a great topic. And I'm glad Oleg said, let's really dig into the core values so that if we can answer the questions that the people in the audience have, they'll keep coming back.
Yeah,
So
it's I really like that all you folks out there are participating, that you guys are writing in the chat. Sometimes when you do a program, especially digitally, it's like you're just talking into the void. But when we see questions in the chat and comments in the chat, um, it feels nice, and
it
you know
does.
that you're hitting something.
And I see it right now, there's 70, 60, there's like 70 people on this call live that are digging in. So I hope that this has been helpful, and I hope that, we've stimulated some thoughts for everybody.
hmm and we have had questions coming in, so we can probably jump right into those. Um, let me. So what I'm going to do right, actually, before I do that, I'm just going to quickly post. I'm multitasking as we do. I'm going to post
Yes,
our YouTube channel Work and Career playlist into the chat so people can access the previous programs, including a couple of yours
right.
um, that we've done. So let me throw you a question here. And we've
Okay.
got some. I really like these questions I've gotten. Do you believe you should take a job if offered if it doesn't align with your core values? For example, if you aren't working, should you take a job just to have one, or wait for one that is better suited with your core values?
That's an excellent question, and I'm going to teach you another Lizism. This one is that it's easier to get a job if you have a job, because the perception of the unemployed is there's something wrong. That being said, I also want to acknowledge that I don't want you taking just any job, because I don't want you to get sucked into something that doesn't get you on the road to where you want to be. If it's not going to get you on the path to your goal, it's considered a dead end job. However, any job could be a taxi job. And a taxi job is not Uber or Lyft. A taxi job is a job that gets you on the road to where you want to be. So if you want to be in fashion and in clothing design, if you took a job at a retail store selling clothing, I would say that's a wonderful start, because you're going to learn about clothing, you're going to learn about retail, you might even meet some interesting people that might take you on, and you might be able to design while you're at that clothing job. So that would be a taxi job that I would say go for it. And you can also set expectations. Maybe you apply for the job and you say, I'm only available 20 hours a week. I can only work weekends while you're pursuing another job Monday through Friday. So that's what I would do, is find a job to get you. It's also Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you've got the rent covered and you can pay your bills, it's easier to work your way up towards self-actualization and the dream job if you've got a stable job with security and money coming in.
So the next question is, it's a big question. Is it typical for values to change in the short term in a typical life? I wanna just adjust this question a little bit. Is it typical for values to change in the short term and in the long term? And then if you see any trends for how values might change.
Absolutely. And I can talk on and on about values for another hour because I just am so passionate about people figuring out what their values are. And yet your values do change. What you wanted out of life when you were young and right out of school may not be what you want today. So our values do change. And our values, I mean, where do our values come from? Sometimes they come from our parents, they come from our family and our upbringing. And yet we mature and we get to a point where we have to really take a look at our values and say, am I valuing this because this is what my mother would want me to do or my spouse would want me to do? So yes, our values do change. And sometimes we change our values to accommodate a situation where we can get in line with somebody else's values. So yes, there's some movement in those values. Yeah.
And this was actually a question that was just asked also. You just actually, I was gonna ask you this question, and you actually answered already, and that is what happens when you don't know what you want and you're not sure if your values are actually somebody else's values, or values that you're pressured to believe by your family, by people at your work, society. How do
Right.
you distinguish whose values they are?
Right, right. Well, and this is a key point that I coach my clients to try to really sort of dig deep. And I use a tool that's very simple. It's pen and paper or pencil and paper or a computer. And I say, start to journal, start to write, get the thoughts out of your head. So if you say you value um, uh, autonomy or independence, what does that really mean? What does that look like? Why is that important to you? And as you write, it's likely that you keep going. And sometimes I give my clients a tagline of what I really mean to say is dot, 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 and dig a little deeper. Is it independence because you really like your quiet time, but you don't want it all the time? You want quiet time, but you also want to share your creativity with others. Start to dig and allow yourself to just take it out of the head, put it on paper, and then maybe sleep on it for a week, go back, read it. Another thing I say is talk to someone close to you. Find somebody that can be a sounding board. It's very hard to do this process by yourself. So find somebody that's a good listener so that you can talk to them about it and they can pull it out of you. That's a lot of what coaching is holding the container of space for somebody to be themselves. And there's no right or wrong answers. That's a great question.
The next question is a bit more down to earth. I've been home a lot. How do I network?
Ah, yes. We've all been home a lot. We've all been home way too much, in my opinion, because I'm the extrovert. So, how do we network? I love telling clients to use the social media tools that they have, whether they're connecting with people on Facebook, whether you like Facebook or not, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. We're all kind of virtual. So, if we've been home for a long time, scheduling time in your day to reach out, making a personal goal to plan something with somebody. I'm a huge fan for the transition time being exploring, maybe volunteering. If there's an organization you feel your heart is pulling you towards, reach out, maybe Google them online, do a little research. Do they have a need? Could you show up and help at a food bank on the weekend or an animal shelter on the weekend? And ask yourself, where's my heart pulling me? Where I might find some like-minded people. And that could be signing up for a class, signing up for an online webinar like this. Keep learning because we've all kind of formed a community here. So find your people and reach out to them. Sometimes I tell my clients, make your networking list and think about family and friends that you haven't talked to in 2 years and just check in. A text that says, I'm thinking about you. How are you? because we know that nobody's gotten through this unscathed. We've all had a death or an illness, or somebody in our family's been affected by it. So for all of us on the call, you've made the first step by joining this call and taking notes and digging in. Now, when the call is over, think about somebody else out there that might benefit from learning some of this, and maybe pass it on. What is that called? Play it forward, or do
Pay it
it,
forward.
pay it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about comfort zone. How does somebody know when they should step out of their comfort zone? When is the right time to step out of their comfort zone for a job or, yeah, I guess anything in life, really?
Wow, that's a great question.
That's a big question.
That is a big question. How to step out. Oh, gosh, it's 12:03. I'm not sure if we have time to cover that. No, I'm teasing. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, when is the right time to step out of your comfort zone? You know what? I, we all in life take risks. And so I would say make it a calculated risk, and maybe do a 360 of people around you if you're thinking about making a change. That being said, I also acknowledge that some people don't want to tell other people about their risks because they'll protect them. Oh, you might fail. It may not work. It's not the right time. So, I guess eventually you just got to do it. You got to jump into the mix and give it a try. And don't burn any bridges. I was just listening to a podcast today that said, with the great resignation, think before you quit. If you think you're going to quit, give it some time. Maybe try to go out on a high note, or try to communicate what you don't like about the current situation, because when you quit, you might be offered a counter offer. So maybe before making that big, huge leap, set a goal of 2 weeks or 2 days or whatever that time frame is to live with that new role, see how it fits, see how it feels, and then make that transition. But don't burn any bridges in case you don't like the new job. You've got openings to come back.
Hmm. Definitely. So what I really want to cover um, is something that part of the reason that I wanted to have this program, and that's in the situation that you're negotiating for a job where you've gotten the offer, where you're about to get the offer, you're thinking about like, what if I get the offer? And you've identified your values. How are some ways that the values then connect with the actual things you can ask for? Like, what are some things you can ask for at work that somebody might not think about? So like the obvious one is like, okay, you're negotiating for salary. That's the clear. They offer you this, you want to get paid this much. Most people come into negotiation with that idea. I guess there's also like benefits. If health is one of your values, you can try to negotiate a different kind of health plan. But what are some other ways that specific things that you can negotiate for um, combine with values?
Oh, I love that question. That's a great question, because salary negotiation and negotiations is one of my favorite things to do with clients. I always tell my clients, don't just say yes to a job offer, always negotiate. Even if it's your first job, always negotiate. And I'm successful because my clients will come back and say, oh my gosh, the job was posted at $18 an hour. I told them I wanted to 22. They came back with 20. I couldn't believe it. If making money is a value, ask for more. Present that you're going to want to get a bonus, or you want to evaluate in 3 months or 6 months based on your performance. So that can be a negotiation that you cover. Another creative negotiation that a lot of companies are starting to offer, which I think is brilliant, is educational reimbursement. So if you're negotiating for a raise or a promotion, do your homework on maybe your membership to a professional organization. How much is that membership costing? And is there a conference or even an online program or a course you'd like to take? And that comes out of a different budget than salary. It can come into a budget of education and training. So take into consideration starting a new job and saying, what's the education budget? Health and fitness. I coached a client who was going for a promotion, and he said he wanted a gym membership. And the company actually said, yeah, we have a relationship with a gym. We can give you a gym membership. And then he negotiated his start time and his finish time around his kid's school schedule,
Ooh, that's a really
because
good one.
he just needed an extra 30 minutes in the morning and an extra 15 minutes in the evening in order to accommodate the carpool. and it was 2 or 3 days a week. And he thought, my boss is never going to go for this. And I said, but that's a core value. Your family and being there for your kids and dropping them off at school, that's important to you. That's something worth negotiating. And he couldn't even put a price tag on that. He's like, that's more important than the salary, is having that time with my family. So looking at that list of core values, whatever your value is, we would come up with the answer to the $1 million question. What exactly are you looking for? And don't be shy to ask for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw in just one more question before we have Stephanie come up and tell us about a little bit about a great service that the library offers for those that need some assistance with computers and in different things. But before we do that, I just want to ask you this question because I think it's a good one that somebody has posted here. Can Liz please explain again the phrase, the reason we are hired is what is going to get us fired?
Oh, yes. This is really, really important. The number one reason you'll get hired, which is also the number one reason you get fired. And this is a 3-letter word. It's so simple. It's all about the fit. FIT. You've got to ask yourself, am I going to be a good fit at this company, or how do I make myself a good fit at this company? And if you're forcing yourself to fit into something that's not the right fit, eventually the bosses, the managers, the customers, the clients, they're going to realize this is not a good fit. And you're not going to find yourself there for very much longer. So a big part of what I coach my clients to do is research. We now have the World Wide Web. We can put in a Google bar those 5 core values of what you're looking for and add in a job title and a company and sort and try to research, where are the best companies that offer adventure and fun and pay well? What are the best 100 companies to work for in Los Angeles or in Colorado or wherever you are?
And there's
Because
websites like Glassdoor that will be where people are reviewing the companies and they tell you exactly what you can just see.
Right, right. And I used to work a lot with clients, and I would back in the day when they could go to a job fair, and I would say, well, it's kind of like when I tell my clients go to the mall and just walk through and say, am I a good fit for working at that, hot dog on a stick lemonade stand with the yellow uniform and the hat? Is that a good fit for me? Or am I a better fit putting on a suit and tie and going into the, I don't know, the Best Buy because you like computer games and you're going to be a video guy and you know everything about stereos and internet and technology? That's a better fit for you because you've got to be passionate about what you're doing. You've got to take that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great place to end. You've got to be passionate about what you're doing. Liz, thank you so much for helping us uncover our work values. This has been a really pleasurable event, and a great conversation, and a great conversation from all the folks that are out there. Thank you all for sticking around for this program. We truly appreciate you being here and wish you good luck and a good afternoon.